Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and a lot of people are really not feeling Nintendo right now. In fact, if you go online, you would think that there were more enemies of Nintendo, more haters of Nintendo than there are people that actually like Nintendo. When the reality is that there are probably more fans of Nintendo than detractors. It just so happens that negativity often is a lot louder than the positivity because majority of the people who are fans of Nintendo and who were excited to get the Switch, they did what most normal people do, which is they bought their Switch 2, they went home, and they've been playing it in the peace and quiet of their own home. They don't need to get on the internet, they don't need online validation, they don't need anyone to justify their purchase. They're convinced that Nintendo is for them, and that's it. And the reality is that there's a lot of people like that. In fact, there's over 3.5 million who felt that way, which is why Nintendo sold so many units. But there is this growing sentiment of disdain towards Nintendo. And it's not just Nintendo. I know that other gaming companies have dealt with this and are probably dealing with this. And as I've sat and I've thought about it, I think I understand the reason why. And it goes to the current state of gaming, and it also goes to who is playing the video games. I remember 30 years ago, if you bought a Nintendo console, all you had to do was plug it in and play it. You didn't have to set it up, you didn't have to download anything. It didn't require as much adult supervision, right? Now, because you have to log into accounts and because you have to register and sign agreements and you have to do all these things, these aren't really, they don't feel like gaming devices like how we remember them as kids. And it feels like there's barriers between you being able to just get the console and play the game. And I think a lot of people, you guys know what I'm talking about. It feels like there's these invisible barriers between the gamer and the game, whether it be a download, a patch, an online licensing agreement, some type of key card, some type of digital download, some type of in-game purchase, some microtransactions. Over the years, these invisible layers, these invisible barriers between you and you, the gamer, getting the game and then just enjoying it, these invisible barriers, I think, are what I think is making it difficult for today's consumer to generally just enjoy video games. It really is. And I think a lot of people are really reminiscing and remembering and wanting to get back to that plug and play action. That give me the game, I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to play it. And I'm going to play it for, an hour, 2 hours and move on to a new game. But these days we spend more time troubleshooting. We spend more time going through eShops. We spend more time downloading stuff. These barriers, I think, are what's making it difficult. And the other thing is, I didn't feel growing up as a kid that there were as many adults as invested in video games as there are today. Video games growing up as a kid felt very much like a kid's thing to do. Like my brothers played video games, yeah, maybe into their like mid to late teens. But once they got to a certain age in the 90s, you were outside the house. You weren't sitting in the house playing video games. You were in the street. You were at the park. You were playing basketball. You were at parties. You were on the block. You were doing something different. You were out. You were out fishing. You were out on a boat. You were down at the beach. You were doing something. You weren't really that invested in gaming. You weren't that invested in video games. And I feel like here now in 2025, people are really invested in video games. And I get it because people are spending thousands of dollars on these things. Just to get your hands on the console, you're at $500. So of course, if you spend $500 on an item, you're going to want to spend a considerable amount of time on it. And I just feel like there's more adults invested in video games today. And that's part of the reason why I think there's a much louder voice, because a lot of the commentary and the comments that I see, especially on YouTube and on social media, they're not coming from kids that are 9 and 10 and 15 and 12. You're not hearing these comments about Nintendo and the Switch 2 come from kids. No, they're coming from adults. 9 times out of 10, when you see a video about the Switch 2, it's coming from an adult, not a kid, not a child, not a teenager, not even teenagers. At least not from what I've seen. It's typically adults who are making these comments about video games, and it's adults who are really invested in it. Um, and I get it because the demographic of gamer has evolved. I don't even want to say that it's shifted, but it's evolved over time, right? We have more girls playing video games, I think, than ever before. More adults playing video games. I think we even have more senior citizens playing video games than ever before, right? So the demographic for gaming has evolved, which is great. Um, but along with the evolution of the gamer is going to come the evolution of the marketing behind video games, the deployment strategy behind video games, the way companies design their products, how they structure the way they get paid for these consoles. Before, I feel like back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, a lot of it was around hardware sales and software sales. How many console units did you sell? How many games did you sell? Now it's not just how many consoles did you sell, how many games did you sell. It's how many people were you able to get to sign up for your online service. How many downloads did you get this month? How many microtransactions were we able to get to? How many eShop sales did we get to? And companies are creating all these metrics, right? For which how they're how they're going to get paid, how they're making money off of me and you, the consumer. They're making all these metrics, but each metric creates a barrier. It's an invisible barrier that makes it harder and takes longer for you to just get to the root of the game and play it. And I come from an era where if you wanted armor, if you wanted the special gun, if you wanted to go supersonic, if you wanted to get all the power-ups, you had to play the game to get it. You couldn't buy these things. You couldn't shortcut the system. You couldn't pay your way to play. You had to actually get in there and play the game and beat it. And for better or for worse, it's not to say that there were no complaints in the 80s and 90s. Sure, people had complaints about games. Sure, there were things that people didn't like. But I feel like because it's evolved, because of the evolution of not only the gamer and the gaming industry and the pricing structure and how they make money from us, now we have these invisible layers, these invisible barriers. And I think that's what's creating the levels of disdain that we're seeing for a lot of these companies. They can try to mask their pricing strategy and their, how they, their sales strategy. They can try to mask it and brand it whatever ways they want. But most gamers are smart enough to know when someone's just trying to squeeze an extra $10 out of them a month or an extra, people know. People aren't stupid. The consumer is savvy, and we're sharing information with each other via mediums like YouTube and the internet and stuff like that. And I think it's that. I think that's creating this like disdain for gaming today. And I think that's why a lot of people are turned off. And it sucks because there's so much amazing innovation that's going into games today that people can't even really appreciate it. On top of that, it feels like you can't satisfy some people. Like I was talking about Donkey Kong the other day, and somebody made a comment about how, it looks like something we've seen before. It's this, that, and the third. It's, they just had a lot of negative things to say about it. And I'm like, listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Like, yes, we are going to see stuff that looks like stuff we've seen before, just with a new polish, better frame rate, better, like, what did you expect to see? What, I don't know what you're expecting to see. I keep saying this in my videos. The only innovation that I think is the next level thing is virtual reality done right. I know we have VR stuff. I know we have the Oculus. I know we have the different VR things, but I feel like those are very rudimentary. I feel like they're very elementary. Maybe is the better way of saying it. Not until we get very good, very realistic feeling VR, I think that's the next frontier. And if it's not that, then it's going to be some Black Mirror level stuff where you get like a chip that you place on the side of your temple and it just somehow digitally integrates with your brain and captures all of your senses, and you're fully immersed in a video game. Like that's the next frontier. You know, I watched Black Mirror, that TV show. I recommend it. If you've never seen it, you know, go check it out. Black Mirror is actually a pretty good show. Um, I've seen episodes of Black Mirror where they utilize something like that, and I think that's the future. I do think that's the future. I think that's the next thing to really wow people, because you're not going to wow them with better looking 3D video games. Some people, you just can't satisfy them. Others they can appreciate it. Other people can be happy about getting some better looking graphics, some smoother frame rates. That's all they're really looking for. You know, some people are happy, they're low maintenance, they don't need a lot to feel like they got something for their money. But I think everybody's different, and I think overall, like I said, just the evolution of the gaming industry, the evolution of the gamer, and these invisible barriers, I feel like that's what's really creating the disdain that we're seeing for gaming companies, especially like Nintendo with the release of the Switch 2. But what say you? I'm interested to know, what is it about the gaming industry, or what is it about Nintendo? What is it that pisses you off the most? That really just gets you going? Like what is it? I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.